What makes a workplace truly thrive? Is it the latest technology, a competitive salary, or perhaps the perks like flexible working? While all these play a role, one key ingredient often stands out: culture. A strong, people centered culture is the driving force behind engaged employees, innovative ideas, and business success. Today's guest is Anish Padinjaroote, Vice President of Culture, People and Brand Experience at Fractal, one of the most prominent providers of artificial intelligence to Fortune 500 companies. Anish shares how his organization has built a thriving workplace culture that scales with business growth, from leading with trust and transparency to reshaping the role of HR into a true business driver. Anish unpacks the key elements of a culture that empowers employees and fuels success. This conversation left me inspired, and I know it will do the same for you. Anish's insights on leadership, happiness, and performance are game changing, and I love how he simplifies the philosophy of thriving organizations into one powerful framework. Before we dive in, a quick favor. If you love these episodes and want to support, please hit that subscribe button, share this podcast with someone who needs to hear it. It's going to make a huge difference for us. Now, without further ado, let's jump into my conversation with Anish. Enjoy. Hi, Anish. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Natasha. Thanks for calling me in. Glad to be
Yeah.
here.
No, thank you. So I'm super excited for this conversation. Let's kick things off. Let's get started. You lead culture and brand experience at Fractal, which is one of the more unique titles that I've seen, culture and brand paired together. So why not tell us a little bit more about what that role actually entails and actually your journey to it?
Awesome. Sure. It's a great journey. I've been with the current firm Fractal for about 8 years now. So when I joined Fractal, I joined the human capital team. So we call it human capital here. We don't call it HR. So I joined the human capital team and I ended up leading the core human capital functions for Fractal up until like 2 years ago. Then the founder and the CEO, we had a chat and he said, "Hey, Anish, we are scaling, we are growing massively. I want to make sure that our culture remains intact because for Fractal culture is a huge thing. And we have developed this culture for the past 25 years and we don't want to in any way dilute or lose it. However, it evolved, but we don't want to dilute." So it was an abstract conversation between a CEO and the HR leader. And that's how this whole role came in play, right? Where even the founder and everyone mostly at Fractal, we all believe that culture should not be siloed as a HR function. Everyone is responsible for culture, and culture is one of the key business drivers also, right? From a growth perspective. So that's how this role came into play. And we said, okay, then I moved out of the HC team. So I'm kind of the single person, but work with the entire organization on shepherding, how do we get the culture out in the world, both internal world for us, Fractal, and external world. And in the new age of hybrid work, it was very important for us to make sure that our culture doesn't get diluted. So that's how this whole role came into play.
Oh, wow. I mean, so my next question is, how do you do it? I think I know lots of people are going to be listening, and there's probably a numerous amounts of layers in there. But I do agree with you. I think culture, as you said, is a really integral part of a business being successful, and it is one when you are kind of rapidly growing as well. There are some difficulties in that, in making sure, as you said, it doesn't get diluted. So, how do you ensure that your company, whilst it is expanding, make sure that your culture actually survives and it thrives in that expansion?
Absolutely, it's very difficult question to answer, but I'll try it anyway, right? So we are in the era where the AI is real now, right? We all use AI and everything. And as we go into the future, more and more symbiotic relationship will form within AI and humans, right? That's number one. Number two is we are all working hybrid now, right? Like few years ago, pre-COVID, like 3 years ago, this was unimaginable, right? Hybrid working, people working from everywhere. We all had to go to office, but today the reality is we are working hybrid and everything. And number three is the technological shift, right? This also happens, and companies, shrink and grow at the same time from that angle. With all this interplay happening, one of the core things that every company has to, keep in line is its culture, right? Because anything else, your technology, your business mode, everything can be copied or replaced, but your culture is very core and everything to you, right? So it's very important, number one, to create rituals. So how we did, at least in Fractal, is create rituals that is very unique to Fractal and basically plant those rituals across the employee life cycle, right? From hire to retire, right? It's not so HR or culture was is not reduced like many traditional organizations do, right? They reduce culture into a set of policies or some perks, like having a ping pong table they think is a good culture, right? That's it's not, right? Culture is how you conduct a business. Culture is how you work. Culture is how you recognize. Culture is how you make your people grow within the organization, right? There are a lot of aspects in that entire employee life cycle. So basically, we knew, okay, these are the life cycle, these are the point of experience of people who relate to this company, and how do we basically make these rituals common across the goal, right? As we are also a global company, so the culture in India will be different from the culture in the UK vis-a-vis US, but the main thread is the same, right? The main intention and the soul of the culture is the same, but of course it has been manifested in different regions. So hence number one thing which we do is rituals, and we've been doing that for many years now. Past 2 years at least, we have concentrated in a lot, which has helped us a lot. I think that is one thing I can say. We have experimented it and it has started working also.
Oh,
Of course, there are
fantastic.
many other things, but I would leave it to this one thing now.
Can you give us an example of a ritual for our listeners out there if they're wanting to maybe potentially apply this to where they are and if it could work for them?
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of the rituals which we did when everyone moved hybrid and everything, right, is on a weekly town hall. So every week, all the leaders come together across the globe. It was a time where all regions in the globe can come together. For some people, it'll be early, some people late, but still, we'll manage. So it was a weekly town hall where the leaders from the CEO till the last person joins, and everyone in the organization joins the call. And we discuss about very important things in the organization, and very transparently. Number one, so it's a 1 hour basic call. First 20 minutes, it's about talking about points about the organization, any communication, everything. The next 40 minutes, it's all about questions. So everyone can. So one of the people principles which we have is you can ask any questions and expect 100% honest answer. That's one of the people principles that we have, right? So anyone, any point of they can just shoot the question directly in the town hall, or we have an app where they can write the question anonymously also. And not only that, these questions are also ranked or voted by people. Hey, I like
Oh,
this question.
interesting.
So whichever
Mm-hmm.
questions are upvoted are the questions which are asked first. So the leaders, there will be difficult questions. There will be very open questions, but leaders answer each and every question that comes, right? That shows the transparency, that shows trust, and that shows the freedom that everyone enjoys in the organization, right? So it's one ritual, but it basically transcends all these points. So everyone understands, right? They don't see it in the wall, but they see it as a lived experience.
Oh, that sounds really fantastic. Did you experience like any, I'd say, teething problems? Because I think with leadership and in organizations, you do get some that say, like, oh, yeah, you can ask any question, like, we're going to give you an honest answer. But there are some instances where actually, like, some people might not feel comfortable. Did you experience any kind of teething issues with that sort of application there?
Absolutely, absolutely. So there were a lot of difficult questions, and we at one point uh, we had some leaders or even employees coming up say, this is too much, right?
Mm,
Too much transparency. This is too much trust. Right? We can't. So those kind of things come in, but we are very clear about the culture and about what Fractal is as a company. So Fractal is also a company which does not coerce people into doing something, right? So Fractal believes that all of us are adults, so we all have good intentions and we all know what to do at a time, which warrants some actions, right? So from that angle, we do get some of these, but we talk it out. We say, hey, this is what Fractal is, and this is where we stand.
mm,
And Fractal's culture stands on those three pillars, right? Trust, transparency, and freedom. So there's nothing more than that. I'll give you an example, one quick example, so that you can relate to it. So there is the so-called policy, right? In any organizations, if you go, there's always a reimbursement policy. You buy something and you reimburse with the firm, right? Okay,
yeah.
bought let's say a mouse or a keypad, whatever, right? So we said, okay, every employee is eligible to get a IT product because we are all working hybrid. So for your comfort, whatever you want to buy, and come and reimburse. We just said this is the limit. And there was just a dollar limit. But whatever you buy, it's up to you. You can buy a Bose headphone. We never said what to buy. If you want to buy keyboard. If you want a headphone, whatever, right? We will not check. You go buy and come reimburse. No approval required. It will be reimbursed. So this, many leaders or some people were not very happy about it, right? Hey, then people can take you for a ride, right?
Yeah.
They can go and buy, which is not. So
Yeah.
again, there also Fractal says, say, we believe 98% or rather 99% of people will not take us for a ride. And we want to build the Fractal for that 98, 99%. We don't want to concentrate on that 1, 2% who will take us for granted or take us for a ride.
Mm.
Right? That we still have some markers, some places where to take care of them. Those kind of people usually don't sustain in Fractal. But even if they are sustained for a smaller time, so be it. That's the cost of this. But we will do only what's right for that 98, 99% of the people at the firm.
I love that example because I think it's important that you're giving that trust to your employees, right? And like you said, like we're all adults, we should all be making like responsible decisions. Yes, there will be a small pool of people that may well take advantage, but in the grand scheme of things, I think it's better to lead with that trust and freedom for your employees because the rewards are gonna be much greater than having just one particular individual or small pool of individuals that have taken advantage in that aspect. I love that. Um, You've mentioned it throughout this conversation is the human capital. That's the you don't use the traditional kind of HR human resources sort of language or the HR business partner function. I know that framework that you guys don't really follow at Fractal. So can you kind of go into a little bit more details around that driving force? Like why is it that you've decided to make that shift and move away from those kind of traditional frameworks?
Got it. So I'll give you an example then. I mean, not an example, a framework which most of the companies follow is this HR business partnering framework, right?
Hmm.
Which is famously designed or framed by Dave Aldrich and many other people, all very good thinkers, from a people perspective, right, in the world. So from my experience and work exposure perspective, I came and I looked at it. While it is a good framework, but it is not helping the business to drive, right? Because I firmly believe, and also in Fractal, we believe that a people function, a human capital function, should function as a business driver, not as a policy shepherd or an auditor of the firm, right? Which we are very clear about. So when we thought about it, we looked at this business HR function where usually there is one person tagged to about 300 to 400 people team, right? That's how a HR business partner works, right? One HR business partner for a 300, 400 people team. It's humanly not possible to make any impact for one person to that 400 people, even if that person works through the year, right? It's too difficult, right, from an perspective. So that's how we rethought the whole model, and we brought in kind of a triangle If I may say, you'd have seen a Venn diagram, right? Three circles, concentric circles coming together. So we created a team called People Advisory, which basically focuses on the leaders of the organization. So for example, this 300 people will, let's say, have 30 leaders or 30 managers. So the People Advisory uh, personnel will work with these managers and make sure that they become the best leader in the firm. So they only concentrate on these 30 people, and this 30 people will concentrate on the rest of the 270 who are reporting into them, right? So that's People Advisory, who concentrate on leaders. We formed a small COE, which is called People Growth, where they focus on performance of the organization. So they focus on the company. They focus on what the company needs, what is the company goals, what do you want to achieve as a company and everything. And based on that, they will create performance drivers, which will run through the organization, right? So that is People Growth. The third unit which we created is called People Experience, which focuses on the people. So if you and me, everyone today, we use a lot of these apps like Uber and multiple other apps, right? So we get that consumer grade kind of an experience. Why don't
Yeah.
we give the same kind of experience for our employees, right? So we created a people experience team where we brought in some great design talent to sit and go through each employee life cycle and see how can we better it for the employees, right? How can we, make sure that they get a consumer grade experience while working with Fractal? So these are the three teams we created, and that's how those teams work within that advisory with the leaders, growth with the company and its founders, and experience with the people. So with this, I think a full circle will come, and we have been seeing a very good success in that model.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's such a powerful shift. And I imagine it creates a more people centered culture as well, where your employees don't just feel like they're resources as such, but they actually feel more as contributors to your organization. They're connected to the growth of the business. And I know you've touched on it as well in this model. It's that leadership element. And you said that you have got to focus on that. So that actually leads me on to my next question. Is more people leadership, right? This episode of All Inclusive is brought to you by Paradigm, the platform that helps companies build innovative, high performance workplaces for everyone. Anti diversity activism is currently surging in the mainstream, challenging corporate DEI programs. But the data tells a different story. Many companies remain committed to their efforts, finding ways to evolve and embed inclusion deeper into their business practices. That's why forward thinking leaders partner with Paradigm. Their latest report, The State of Culture and Inclusion, reveals how companies are navigating the current climate and driving real progress in 2025. Click the link in the description below to download your free report today. I know your philosophy, which you have, which I think is amazing. So can you share this with our audience and our listeners, your philosophy when it comes to kind of leadership, happiness, and performance?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. My philosophy is very simple. Right? My philosophy is happy leaders make happy employees, make happy clients, make happy company, right? In that order. So if you have a happy leader, self-sufficient, well-being is taken care. If I'm a leader, let's assume my well-being is taken care, I'm happy, then that manifests into my team, right? So I'll make my team happy, which is the employees, right, who are working with me and everything. If they are happy, then they will automatically do performance, which is discrete performance, right? So you don't have to tell them you have to log in this time, log out that time. All that is nonsense. But they will work because they're also adults, they're also happy. So they will work. If they work well and give good productivity, that directly relates to our client satisfaction, right? And if the clients are happy, right, of course, the top line, bottom line, everything will be healthy, then the company will be happy. So that's the philosophy I follow. So we make sure that every people manager at Fractal becomes a great people leader by themselves, right? Because most of us basically do all this promotion because people work, let's assume they work in 5 years of a good software engineer, then we make them a bad manager. We promote them to be a manager without even telling anything to them, right? How to manage or do these kind of things, right? So we want to change that and make sure that every ma- person who has people responsibility becomes the great people leader in the organization, right? So that's where the core focus is. That's where the people advisory comes in. People growth also tweens the goals based on that. People experience also works with them to make sure there is a good loop closure on that. So that's my philosophy, and it seems to be working so far. And also, I mean, that philosophy will work for like companies like Fractal, right? Of course, if you're a startup, maybe that happy it will not be happy man because startups don't have managers, right? There are only two three hustlers who do it, so it
Yeah.
may change a little, but still overall the philosophy will work.
No, I agree. I think it's great. I love the philosophy, and it's very clear in how you're working at Fractal as well, that this is the driving force, I guess, to making sure that your employees feel like they are valued, they're respected, and they're happy. So what does happiness at work really mean though, right? So how do you measure that in today's world? Like, how are we measuring happiness?
Goodness, that's a loaded question, and also very difficult to answer. See, I'll tell you, I mean, I can't answer for an organization or others,
Mm.
but I can tell you my point of view around it, right? I firmly believe happiness is a choice. Happiness is not a destination. It's a journey that manifests due to certain factors that happens in a workplace. Since we are talking about work, I'm talking about workplace, right? So I think three major things have to come together for that journey to be manifested, right? And those three are number one, meaning. Do I have a meaning for my work, right? Do I have a meaning, purpose for what I'm doing, right? Number one, if I have that, great. Number two, is my work pleasurable? Am I getting joy of doing this work? Or is it just because I need to get a month end salary I'm doing it, or I'm doing it because I really enjoy working? So pleasure, right? And number three, strength. Is it my strength to do this work? Am I capable? The term is self-efficacy, right? Am I self-efficient to do this work? So it's the meaning, it's the pleasure and strength. If all these three come together, I think it will manifest that happiness as a journey, right? But again, there's always a high and low in for everything. At Fractal, we do measure. We do measure. We have something called Moodometer. We have a bot, AI bot at Fractal, where it goes and asks questions on a daily basis to people about how are you feeling today. Just one simple question with a lot of options from happiness to despair. There's a lot of options, and that bot also says if we select is that do you want to speak to someone, because most of the cases, right, the anxiety, depression, or whatever we are facing now will be eradicated if someone is there to listen to you. So we give that option also. So that is one way of capturing the mood of the firm, number one. We also take part in GPDW. So that's an annual survey. We also have something called UFS, which is Upward Feedback Survey, which is a survey about your immediate leader. So we take all these, internal things, and we also look at the external, like your Glassdoor rating, what is there, what people are talking about you in the social world. So we take all this, we align this and bring out a kind of a culture index score to see how our organization is doing. So that's a measurement level. I hope I answered from a measurement level. From a
No, I
happiness
think
level, I think those
yeah,
are.
no, I mean I know it was probably it's a little bit of a loaded question there, isn't it? But I generally I think your answer is personal to you, and I think it was a fantastic one, right? Like we can't speak for others, and we can't really make overall sweeping statements, but what you can do is from your own personal experience and from what you've witnessed and from what you feel within yourself, like these are the elements that I think can drive people to experience and actually more importantly manifest happiness. It doesn't just happen overnight, and I love that what you've explained really does show that like it's not going to be one day you're just going to wake up and you're just going to feel happy. It doesn't always work like that. There are elements that really make up the way in which you want to lead. And it is, as you said, it is a personal driver. It's something that you've got to take ownership for yourself. But as an organization, as a workplace, you can do everything possible to provide the right environment for that happiness to thrive in, right? So,
Yeah,
which I love that. And it's very clear from this conversation that Fractal is definitely a very much of a people-centered organization, and you're intentional with the work that you're doing to make sure that these happiness experiences your employees are able to manifest them. So that's fantastic. Plus, still driving a successful business. So it can
yeah.
happen, guys. It is possible. If you take care of your people, your business will thrive. So for our leaders that are listening today, and they want to build a thriving workplace and a thriving workplace culture, but they just don't know where to start.
I think it has to do with trust. And I jokingly tell my team abbreviation called EAT, EAT. So I said lead with EAT. So EAT basically means empathy, be empathetic always, be authentic, don't do drama, be authentic, be yourself, and be trustful, right? So be empathetic, be authentic, and be trustful. That's EAT, right? So I said lead with EAT. So I think that's non-negotiable, right? Even one part of it is non-negotiable. Even one goes away, then it's not a good place to start your organization or start a great organizations with a good culture or great culture, thriving culture. So you need to be empathetic so that you're an approachable person, open listener, feedback both ways and all those things. You need to be authentic, which means you're vulnerable. You're not this the one wonder of the world. It's not about individual excellence, it's also about collective brilliance, right? And also trust is so important. You have to be trustful. The minute you break trust by any kind of intransparent, unethical dealing, then that's the huge break for any culture. So I would say eat, lead with eat, empathy, authenticity, trust.
Oh, that's incredible. That's such great advice there, Anish. I've thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today. It's actually made me a little bit happier. For sure,
I'm glad.
definitely. Yeah. So before you do leave us, what is next for you and the work that you're doing at Fractal?
I think as we scale, the culture is put on test, right? It's not a threat. Scale is not a threat because company is growing and everything. But of course, the culture, there's a lot of tests that we need to go through. So future is that for me, right? How do I scale this culture globally? We are present in like 18 countries. How do I bring in that equitable, inclusive culture within Fractal? Not I, right? When I say I, Fractal, I mean no we. Fractal brings. So that's the goal. And as I said, right, it's a journey. It's not a destination. It's a journey, and culture will evolve. I don't think it changes, but it evolves as new people come into place. So we need to make sure that we don't forget the soul or the true unit of what that culture means to us, right? The true smell of that flower is very important. Why the flower's colors will change, but the smell of the flower has to be as pure as it is. So that's future for me. So that's what I'm trying to achieve, and trying to make sure that we build a great workplace where people come and thrive. At the same time, the business thrives too.
Oh, I love that. Love that, Anish. It's amazing. So, for our listeners who want to get in contact with you, want to learn a little bit more about your work, how can they do that?
LinkedIn is the best way to reach out to me. I'm usually good at responding to LinkedIn if people reach out to me. So yeah, LinkedIn is the best way. And I'm also there in TopMate, but I don't use it much. But yeah, if people want to, look up.
Oh, awesome. Well, I will put a link down below in the show notes to your LinkedIn profile. So, for all of our listeners, if they're wanting to get in touch with you, learn a little bit more about their work, they're able to do that. Anish, honestly, this has been such an insightful conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your experience with us. For our listeners, if you found this episode valuable, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your network. And if you want to continue that learning with Anish, the links will be down below for you. So, once again, thank you so much, Anish, and I can't wait for us to speak again soon.
Awesome. Also, thanks a lot for this opportunity, and it's wonderful speaking to you. I think you spread good energy, so I think your podcast is going to become one of the best if not already.
Thanks so much. I'm trying.
Uh, uh,